think it started off when, like it really started off when I went to London like 5 years ago. And I bought a camera because I went to work at a bakery because of an internship program. And I bought myself a camera to bring with me, like as anybody would in that kind of situation. And it was a digital camera. And yes, it started off with an interest in like street photography. When I was there, you know, you walk around all the time and you take your camera with you to photograph whatever you see, just like a tourist would. And after that, I started contacting people on Instagram just to talk with them and have a chat about photography because I wanted to get more information and just meet up with people and have some fun times, because I was pretty much alone there for the internship, and it was 3 months and I wanted to make some friends, so I just messaged some people whose work I could appreciate. And that turned out to be fun. And I was lucky because I met the right people at the right time, and it was all street photographers being really into the matter, like going out every day, like 24/7, always photographing, like, and it was like sleep photograph all the time. And that was a great influence, I think. With those kind of photographers, you start to get into photographers they look up to, because, you know, a typical thing to talk about is, I mean, who do you aspire to be like, you know, whose work does inspire you, whose body of work is amazing and brings you joy. And with those photographers, it was like Saul Leiter or Ernst Haas, like it was all color photographers. And with that kind of a matter, you start looking into photography masters and you discover people like Saul Leiter or Vivian Maier, or, you know, all the big stars of the photography world you get to know once you're like a little interested. And that's when I picked it up because I really enjoyed the work, and I really liked the feeling the work gave me. Actually, it was when I was in school. I went to Rudolf Steiner school, like a Waldorf school. And you know, you get a lot of freedom, and we had lots of great teachers. And we had one teacher specifically who really got me into like reading books and all the poems and whatever and whatnot. And what I liked about the text that the teacher introduced to us was how honest they were and how simple they were. Like, it was simple writing, but with a depth of emotion to it that one wouldn't get otherwise, like if it wasn't for the writer specifically. So you could get like a feeling that someone who has the same amount of words in their heads as you have, and he can express something so much, he can express so much more through what he does and through his passion, right? And I got this basic feeling of, you can be someone and you have a simple tool that everybody has, but you can express your emotion or your true feeling through that medium. That's what I got from school. So this teacher showed us movies like Wojciech or like artsy movies, you know, like David Lynch and that kind of stuff. And that's when you really get into all that kind of, like this crazy world of weird emotions. And I always longed for a medium I could express myself through, or just a medium I could dig myself into and really like live it. Because I can't really focus on a couple of things at one time, so I really have to focus on one thing. And for me, that turned out to be photography. And it really turned out, or bring itself out when I was in London photographing with the guys over there. Whenever I'm around people, or whenever I'm talking with curators or other photographers, they always ask the same question, and it's how do you describe your photography? What is your photography about, really? And it's such a hard thing to answer, because my photography, I think, it's not about photography. It's my way of life, right? It's what I do. It's everything and all I have. So I take pictures because I like stuff, and when I like stuff, I take pictures. I take it because, you know, the moment's there, and, you know, it's a hard thing to describe. It's, you know, I know a guy, or my friend told me of a guy who said something, and it was, the more you photograph, the lonelier you get, and the less someone else can like get into your photography, right? Because, you know, it's so specific, and I can't really say what my photography is about, because it really isn't about, you know, any specific kind of topic you could, you know, it's just, I just photograph whatever I like, and when it comes along nicely, that's really what I want. I just want to create nice work that gives me a feeling of pleasure. I really don't look for anything else, because I think it's a pure expression. I think it's close to humanity if you photograph in a way that doesn't say anything you think about, but it really expresses who you are. So you give yourself up really to photography, and it's really that photography becomes who you are rather than some kind of random topic you choose of your head. Lots of photographers ask themselves the question, what is the most important thing in photography for myself, or what is the most important thing in photography? For me, it really is to live it, like to give myself up to photography. That's what I like. That's what I want to do. Because I look at photographers like Eugene Smith or some big photographers I admire, and you see how they gave up their life, how everything went into photography. And it's not about, you know, technique anymore. It's not about the topic anymore. It's not about the sense of the work. It's not a big piece of work that makes some kind of sense. It's not about making a book. It's like, it's only and purely about photography, about being a human who lives through photography, and that as purely as he can, or as one can. And that's what I truly admire about it. I like to give oneself up, like this kind of true value, to put some true value in your work. Like the value is your own life, really. It's like lots of people always look for a sense in photography, or in art in general. They always look for like structures they can apply to it, but to me it doesn't really matter. Like, for me, real photography starts when nothing matters anymore, when all that's there is just someone looking at a photograph and saying if it's good or if it isn't. So I don't apply like any kind of, you know, structure to it. I don't want to have any structure in my photography, because it's not about that for me. It's not about like, yeah. For myself, a good picture, I wouldn't point it out in like, you know, I like, you know, deep blacks and I like bright highlights and a good mid-tone range, and you know, that's not really what I'm looking for. It's just, you know, it's either you say it's good or it's not good. I don't like to put reasons behind that, because the reasons are like, reasons I can think of are very weak, you know. They are not like, they don't truly mean anything in my world. I just say yes, I like it, or I don't. It's hard to tell. I'm sorry. Actually, that's a funny story too, because when I was in London, I was photographing with my mate, Joshua K. Jackson is called. It's a very good photographer, and someone I look up to, because he really introduced me to photography, and he really gave me a good start into the whole thing with his vision and with the way he talked to me. And we went to a store in London, or we went by the store, and I was looking at the Leica M6 in the storefront, and I was like, that's a great camera, and I'd love to have this. And he said something like, I can't really remember, he was like, yeah, you know, but it's film and you don't really know how to manage that, you know, it's film and you only know digital, you're just starting out. And I was like hooked. I was like, I want that camera. And after I went home, I bought like a Nikon camera in the beginning and started shooting. I shot like 4 rolls and I sold it. I sold all my digital equipment, and then I bought a Leica M6 off the used market and a 50 Summicron. And then the whole thing began, like really taking off, because I love the Leica system. I love how quiet it is and how I can like just put in my coat pocket, because that's what I did for years when I photographed in my school. Because then I was 16 and I still had a couple of years to go in school. And I just put the camera in my pocket. And the thing was, I started getting more camera gear, more Leicas, and the school stuff started to fall off. So it was like a trade of camera gear for school, which wasn't to the liking of my parents. But so yeah, I took the Leica to the school like every day, and I photographed there all the time, and it was great fun. For inspiration lately, definitely Eugene Smith. I've been obsessed with him. His photography is horrendous. It's amazing. It's nothing to be said about it. And I really admire his lifestyle. I really looked into all the articles and forums online. I watched the movies about him and all the things I could dig up, and about his process, how he processed his prints, and how he talked with people, how he engaged with people. It's really interesting to me. Or someone else I like is Kochetkova. I love Kochetkova. I watched this one movie about him photographing in Jerusalem, and he's just such a kind, nice human being. You want to be around, I think, and his photographs are amazing. It's like you can always see it in the people, like how they give themselves, how they are, and you can really, there are not a lot of photographers, it's a small niche of photographers who are like them, who are really, like, I don't know. I didn't start a series as like being a series, so I said I photograph every day. I carry my camera like all the time. I have it next to me in my bed. I just take photographs I like, and then I put them together in a way that seems right. And then for exhibitions I put a name onto it. I'm of course a great fan of his. I admire his work since, I've been admiring his work for a long time now. And he really reminds me of Kochetkova. He's a great photographer. He honestly is. It's hard, whenever I have to talk about other photographers, for me it's hard to find reasoning, because my world or my view on photography is so different with what people expect of me, I think. So I think when I say I really like the work, it's like the biggest compliment I can give out. And I really like his work. It's honestly, it's great. To earn some money, I have a photography studio in Graz. So we rent a place away and we take care of it a little. I have my darkroom there and I do my printing there, and I have a little office space in there to send like emails and but working as a photographer, I'm working as always, like photographing all the time, going wherever I like, and seeing what happens of it. If I stay at a place for longer, or if I decide to photograph a certain kind of people a little longer, I think it's just because I like them, or because I like being around them, or because they give me something that inspires the photography.